Friday afternoon, time to talk about a 49ers draft prospect. This guy's made some waves ever since Mel Kiper Jr. put him into his 49ers position in the mock draft at number 31. I'm not so sure that Roger Rosengarten is going to go quite that early in the draft. Might be a second-round pick, might be a third-round pick, but he is worth talking about because he's got McCaffrey connections, because he's the fastest offensive lineman in this 2024 NFL draft, and because the combination of those two things make him somebody that the 49ers might be very interested in from a skill set standpoint. On top of everything else, Roger Rosengarten, who's pictured there, number 73 for Washington, is working with Joe Staley. That's who's training him for this NFL draft and obviously the NFL. And Joe Staley was known as the 315-pound gazelle. I actually wrote a big feature on Joe Staley with Matt Barrows right when Joe Staley retired, and we've got a great picture that I can share with you right now from that feature, which had the headline, the 315-pound gazelle. Here's the picture. There's Staley back in high school. Staley ran a wildly fast 200-yard time in high school. He was a track guy, 21.97, and he was a 4.7 40, I believe 4.68, which is just wildly fast for a big guy. Now, obviously, he wasn't at 315 pounds in that picture, but he was able to carry that 315 pounds well, and Staley was one of the fastest offensive tackles that we've seen in NFL history. Meanwhile, Roger Rosengarten is at a 4.92 40, which is the fastest 40 time out of any offensive lineman in this year's NFL prospect pool. Kyle Shanahan, we know him in the outside zone blocking scheme. Well, the coaching connection here and the McCaffrey connection here for Roger Rosengarten is that he played at Valor Christian in the Denver area. That's where Christian McCaffrey went to school. He was teammates with Christian's younger brothers, Luke and Dylan McCaffrey. Luke McCaffrey is a 49ers prospect in this upcoming draft. And for the final 2 seasons of Rosengarten's high school career, Ed McCaffrey was his coach. Ed McCaffrey literally took the old Shanahan playbooks from the 49ers in the early 90s and then the Denver Broncos in the later 90s to Valor Christian High School. So Rosengarten blocked in the zone scheme that Mike Shanahan initially implemented with Ed McCaffrey. That same scheme was run in high school with Ed McCaffrey as the head coach for Roger Rosengarten. Then Rosengarten went to Washington. Here comes another good connection. Troy Fautanu and Roger Rosengarten were on the same offensive line. One of them was the left tackle, one of them was the right tackle. Rosengarten, though, did not move to right tackle until the lefty QB, Michael Penix Jr., took over, because the lefty QB has a different blind side than a righty QB. Normally, you'll put your top pass protector on the left side for a right-handed quarterback. But in this case, they had a lefty quarterback at Washington, so they moved Roger Rosengarten to right tackle to protect Michael Penix Jr.'s blind side. So I think that, a lot of evaluators are saying, oh, this is strictly a right tackle. They're not looking into the history here. Roger Rosengarten was a left tackle in high school. He was a left tackle to begin his college career in Washington, and he only moved to right tackle because of the fact that they had a lefty quarterback for the Huskies. So I think that there is potential left tackle, right tackle availability. Now, the concern that evaluators have is anchor against the pass rush. They say, okay, this is the fastest tackle that there is. He's going to be a good run blocker, might not be as good as his very famous teammate on the left side, who's probably going to go higher in this draft, probably in the first round. But they're saying that there's a Mike McGlinchey-like potential problem here for Roger Rosengarten, and that he's not strong enough to anchor down against the proper bull rush. But as you can see here, this is from PFF College, the pass protection numbers last year were very good. 610 pass block snaps, no sacks allowed, and 2 quarterback hits allowed. So at least at the college level, this guy has gotten it done. I understand that pro scouts have questions about his ability to translate that to the NFL level. I think there are questions about any player's ability to translate pass protection from the college to the NFL level. But I think that there may be real value here, especially if he's not going until the second round or the third round. And the fact that he's worked with Joe Staley, the fact that he has those McCaffrey connections, which means that he's a zone blocker, the fact that he runs that 4.9240, has got a really good burst. All of those things tend to agree with what the 49ers have sought along the offensive line. For Kyle Shanahan, there's long been a preference for speed over size up front. He's not going to say no to size, but that size has to have the requisite speed. The first truly large offensive lineman that the 49ers have drafted that has been able to play, not immediately, but early on in his career in a starting position is Aaron Banks. Much bigger than many people expected for the guard position. At one point in his college career, Aaron Banks got up to 338 pounds, which is huge. Kyle Shanahan very pointedly said after the 49ers drafted Aaron Banks that it's fine if you're big enough as long as you can move the way that we need you to move to make some of the difficult reach blocks, some of the difficult perimeter blocks in the outside zone. So his explanation after the 49ers drafted Banks was that he could move like a much smaller guy. So we were fine with getting that size. In fact, he said that the 49ers would rather have that size if the size could move. It's just harder for the size to move the way that the 49ers need it to move. Again, the outside zone system, it's like an accordion. That line has to stretch out toward the sideline. And a lot of people don't realize that a football field is 53 1/3 yards wide. Football fields are not narrow. And to execute a zone-based system that is using the perimeter to get those linemen out in space, they need to be able to move. Rosengarten is 6'5", and I think he's listed at about 308 pounds. So he's not huge. In fact, those are below average tackle metrics. The arm length is 33.5 inches, which is a little bit under average. The longest arm length for tackles you'll see is like 36 inches. Amarius Mims is 36 1/8 inches. There's concern if it's less than, I think, anywhere less than 34 inches for tackles. And a lot of time you'll talk about kicking that guy inside because you need the arm length, theoretically, to keep those edge rushers at bay, or else they'll just run right around you. You need to be able to reach out and push them away from their spot as they are on their pass rushing trajectory. So there are some questions about the anchor ability against the pass rush, the strength here, and there are some questions about the arm length. I don't think it's wildly questionable. I don't think it's something that everybody's panicking about regarding Roger Rosengarten, especially since he's had so many successful reps pass blocking in college football. But it is something that probably has devalued his draft stock from someone who, would go in the first round, like his teammate on the left side, versus a second or third round projection. Still, with the Joe Staley connection, with the Ed McCaffrey, Luke McCaffrey, Dylan McCaffrey connection, and by extension, the Christian McCaffrey connection, with the title of the fastest running offensive lineman in this 2024 NFL draft, you have to keep an eye on Roger Rosengarten to the 49ers. This could be a value pick because we're talking about the potential of the 49ers having to draft up to get one of the really good offensive linemen. What if they don't have to draft up? What if they can get somebody with their existing picks? Then you have more darts to throw up against the wall. I think with Roger Rosengarten, that is a possibility. So we're just connecting the dots right now. This is the 49ers prospect of the day. I'll be going through a prospect every day from now until the NFL draft. You can always check out my mock draft, which has Troy Fautanu at the very top of it. And that is the bookend for Roger Rosengarten. I'm going to find the mock draft really quickly for you because this is going to give you all of the names that I'm going to go through over the course of the next 10 days or so in one spot. If it loads, and it is, you're going to get a picture of Roger Rosengarten's teammate. There he is. Check that out. I've tweeted it out. It's available for you. I talk about trading up. Yesterday, I talked about trading down. All options still on the table for the 49ers. Big piece. More news coming up. We're in the slower time of the year. People right now, I think the latest thing that people are talking about is Brandon Ayuk unfollowing the 49ers on Instagram, which I find funny because that's what Deebo Samuel did a couple years ago. Social media games, if that's what's going on right now. I have a chuckle about that. I'm sure we'll be talking more about Brandon Ayuk over the course of the next couple of weeks and probably over the course of the next few months before he agrees to his contract with the 49ers. All right, we'll talk to everybody soon. Check out the mock draft and obviously check out Roger Rosengarten, a 49ers potential target moving forward. If you connect the dots, all those 49ers connections do make for an interesting story.